What is up, everybody? Skratch coming up with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're gonna focus on the Hydra clan boss, on the new rotation to be more specific. Honestly, probably the hardest rotation since the Hydra clan boss got released. Now, in this rotation we have the head of Decay, we have the head of Blight, we have the head of Mischief and the head of Rat, all in the very same formation, starting straight with them. Affinity wise, Royal Guard is still dominating the show. Geomancer, of course, still a very powerful damage dealer. We only have one Force head. We have a couple of Spirit heads in here as well, but that doesn't mean that Husk is not going to be good. He's going to be doing an amazing job as well. Now, in the second month after the Hydra got released, was a rotation with the head of Blight and the head of Decay, I think, or something like this. I cannot really remember, but what I do remember is that whenever these three heads were out, I used to escape and back out of the fight. That was for the second month because honestly it was just getting so hard. When was the head of Blight, head of Mischief and head of Decay in the same team was really hard. So today, guys, I'm gonna give you a couple of tips on what teams and champions to use against this rotation. But before we move over to talk about all that, if you enjoyed the music here in the video, we have that Soundstripe link in the description down below and in the pinned comments, guys. Plus, I can save you 15% on checkout on any subscription by using code Skratch. They have an amazing music library, so definitely head over and check them out. Another quick thing that I want to mention, guys. Yesterday, we talked about Plarium's announcement. It was in the Spider video where we actually talked about the dungeon, teams, and of course, we actually covered briefly the announcement that Plarium made regarding their staff, regarding the situation in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine at the moment. So there are a bunch of different ways on how we can actually support them. Tons of charities that can actually help them out if you want to donate or anything. But another thing that I wanted to mention is on Friday, 5 p.m. GMT time on Twitch TV, guys, you'll be finding the link in the description down below. We'll be hosting a charity stream to help out with whatever we can. So you'll be finding more information probably tomorrow once I'm gonna get everything set up, but it's gonna happen on Twitch TV Friday, 5 p.m. UTC time, GMT time. That's, I think, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys tune over. Now, heading over to the Hydra clan boss, guys. I actually prepared a few teams right here on my presets just to kind of give you an idea of what exactly you need. So we're gonna have to deal with the head of Blight, the cleanser. We're gonna have to deal with the head of Red. He deals tons of damage. He actually one-shotted my Duchess in full HP with attack up on Nightmare difficulty before, and I was like, wow, I almost lost the fight because of it, which was mind-blowing because she's pretty tanky. Then we have the head of Mischief, which is very annoying. Now, I remember from what Plarium said before that don't really focus on him because he's not really the main threat there. Trust me, he is a massive threat, especially in this combination, because even though you might use block debuffs, the cleanser is gonna cleanse it. Head of Mischief is gonna steal your buffs from your nuker, spread them on the entire team. HP burn is not good anymore. The head of Blight is gonna put a toxic cloud and you're kind of screwed. At least for a while. And it might happen when they devour one of your champions towards the end, and that's gonna mess up your entire key. So it really requires a lot of focus when you're doing this rotation, guys, because there's so many things happening at the same time. You really gotta be on point. It's good that we don't have the head of Torment to start with, but as soon as we kill one of these heads, the chances for them to respawn again are 10%. So definitely be prepared for one of the other heads to come in play, at least on the hard difficulties. I was talking about Nightmare with the 10%. The lower the difficulty, the higher are the chances for the same head to respawn again. So basically, I think we really need to have a block buffs champion in here, since the head of Mischief is gonna steal buffs from your champions regardless. No matter how much resistance you have, you cannot use the resistance on your entire team because that's not really gonna put you in a nice spot with the HP levels, with the damage they do, speeds, etc. So having a block buff champion, we have Umbral Enchantress. In my opinion, she is the best just for the simple fact that it's on a 3-turn cooldown for 3 turns, void affinity, no weak hits. That's kind of like the reason why I like her. Ugo, on the other hand, she is a very powerful champion for these two. So if we're gonna have a quick look at her kit, On the A1, we have a small chance of landing a leech on a single target, defense down, block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown for 2 turns. That comes in handy pretty good, especially if you're gonna pair her with a different champion that has attack down, defense down on the same skill. You're gonna be able to kind of keep that defense down constantly on the enemies and land it straight after they cleanse again. So she's a pretty good champion. Then you have the rest of the skills as well, the cleans, and you have her passive. So she's definitely not a bad champion to use. Now, if you're running different teams, you don't have a Duchess, for example, you might have a Cardiel, maybe you don't. For attack down, I really prefer Krisk to Hanorak. I don't have to Hanorak at the moment, but she's honestly probably the best champion to use against these rotations because she has so much in her kit. We have Tomb Lord, awesome champion. Decrease speed, we have some poisons to deal some damage on at least one of the heads when we start off with it. Defense down, attack down, without actually hitting the enemy team. So even if they have the Toxic Cloud, Tomb Lord is gonna be amazing. Pretty good stats on him too, like base stats overall. He's not a squishy champion. Stag Knight, again, is gonna help to set up the entire rotation with that decreased speed, defense down, attack down. Overall, a pretty good champion. The only thing I don't like about him is that with his passive, he's gonna give increased accuracy on one of my nukers when they get resisted. And that's gonna make the Head of Mischief to prioritize that champion more because of the extra buff they're gonna gain from his passive. That's kind of like my only thing that doesn't get me too excited about Stag Knight. Now, if you don't have a Stag Knight, you don't have any of the other attack down champions. If you have, for example, a Dark the Pierce from the Orcs faction, he's actually going to be a very powerful champion too. And the affinity is pretty suitable for him. The only thing is you're not going to be able to set up the team. So if we're going to go in for a run, let's just take this team. I'm normally running this on Brutal, but let's give it a go just to see what exactly I'm talking about. So it's definitely not a nice sight to look at, having all these champions going at the same time. So I'm usually not starting with a HP burn, just for the simple fact that they're gonna cleanse. So I'm gonna land the decreased speed first on this one, and that's kind of like sorted. But that only works with specific champions. If you're using Krisk or Royal Guards with accuracy, you're gonna have to restart this run quite a few times. On the last rotation, I haven't showed you this because I wasn't running Tomb Lord, for example, in the teams where I showed you. And yeah, with Royal Guard and Krisk was pretty annoying. So definitely not a thing that I would have recommended anyone to do. So right now what we can do is land the block buffs. The Head of Blight is going to use the Toxic Cloud. It's not going to be able to land it on anyone. Then the Cleanser is going to come in play. It's going to cleanse our debuffs, which is fine. The main idea is we're going to be able to do damage and we're not going to have to worry about the rest, you see. I actually have resistance on my Tomb Lord, and I think I even have a Blood Shield accessory just for this particular reason, to deal with a Head of Mischief. You want to build a couple of champions with resistance, preferably a couple, if not multiple than that, three champions if you can, just for the simple fact that they will be overlapping each other. Sometimes they're not gonna, the Head of Mischief is not gonna get resisted when it's stealing the Thermeter, and that's gonna mess up the entire tune. And that's why it's better to have multiple champions with some resistance just to be safer overall, you know. Okay, and actually look at that luck. Extra turn and refresh accessory came in play too, which is awesome. Another thing that I don't like as much with the Geomancer. When you're stealing the buffs from the Head of Red, you're kind of like having a bit of a problem for the simple fact that he's getting a reflect damage. You might be stealing some other buff from him, the increased attack, while the rest they don't have it. And that's a bit of a problem because the Head of Mischief is gonna focus him as well. So the main idea is to be very careful with your nukers, you know. As long as you have block buffs, debuff on the Head of Mischief, you're fine, you know. But if you don't have that on, like right now, you're gonna be in trouble because he's gonna spread all the buffs to the rest of the enemies, and that's definitely not a good thing. I'm not even gonna try to land that HP burn at the moment because I'm gonna replace the one from Geomancer, and that's not good. Now I'm definitely gonna want to steal the buffs from this one. They're the same buffs that we already have, so that's gonna be fine as long as we're able to do our job. Now, I'm probably gonna try to decrease the speed on this head now. So you kind of have to play it all around with the champions that you have available. Now, Duchess is a very powerful reviver, guys. Definitely the best reviver for this. I've managed to do one key nightmare without Duchess. That's fine. Many different people did it with different teams, but they do require at least one of the very top tier champions in the game. So what I'm trying to show you is not the champions, guys. It's mainly what buffs, debuffs you need in order to deal with this sort of combination of enemies right here, because it's definitely a pretty annoying thing. So I kind of showed you what exactly you could do to deal with the situation of the heads right here, how to start it to make it work. Now, there are different ways in starting the rotation. So for example, I'm gonna try with this team. With this one, I'm not really stressing on landing the block buffs debuff as soon as we start. I'm gonna let the heads do all their things. You could, for example, just land one debuff, like let's just say this. Okay, so if we do this, the head of decay is gonna cleanse that head with the A3, so it's not gonna use the full cleanse, and because of it, we're gonna be able to cut in if for example my speed for my Umbral Enchantress will be exactly in between the speed from the head of decay and head of blight, which is a 10 difference in speed. So let's just say it's 220, 230 speed. My Umbral Enchantress will be 225. I'm gonna be able to cut straight in between the heads, land the block buffs debuff, and then the head of decay is gonna cleanse only the second turn. And it's kind of gonna take me to the same situation where I was in the previous run with the previous champions. It's still gonna cleanse the block buffs debuff, you know, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, what I like about Chris here is not only the decreased attack and decreased defense, is that I can actually increase the duration of buffs and get extra buffs on him more than the rest of the team has, for example. And that helps my team a lot, because the head of mischief is gonna focus Chris, is gonna focus Lydia. Lydia, she has a blood shield accessory as well. So like this, I'm able to keep the head of mischief distracted most of the times. Now, depending on the RNG and on the runs, it might not happen all the time. So right now, I'm just gonna show you how exactly this is going to work, you know. You see? So it actually moved on a different head that cleans, but because my champions were not tuned to cut in between, I wasn't able to use the block buffs debuff on any of the heads, which is fine. It's not necessarily the biggest worry to start with block buffs debuff straight ahead, you know. Like, honestly, I never really stressed about it. I'm actually gonna show you the previous team that I was running. So right here, if you're looking at the top, the entire month I ran this team. Geomancer, 2 Royal Guards, no block buffs debuff at all. And this was literally the first try, bang 1 key, first try, bang 1 key, first try, bang 1 key. Very consistent, super easy to set it up. But of course, you need to have the right champions for that. And that's mainly for nightmare difficulty, guys. I know I'm not really doing guides for normal, because not many people care about normal, okay? Many people that cannot do higher difficulties on Hydra don't do it at all. That's why I'm not really doing many guides on the lower difficulties. But how you've seen, I do have a few teams prepared to kind of show you on how you could actually run them. So if we're backing out of here, I kind of wanted to show you how the head works. I probably don't have gear on all these champions, which is fine. The main idea is I just want to show you if we're going on lower difficulties, because most probably I do not have the right speeds. So I'm actually going to go on this one. Hard. Seems like we have a bit of a bug there. It doesn't show you the difficulty. But we're going to go a full epic team. Of course, if you're looking to do hard brutal, probably you already have Lydia. Change one of these champions with Lydia, and overall it's going to be better. Maybe take 1 Royal Guard out, keep only 2 damage dealers instead of 3. I'm going to go with this team. So here we can actually do the exact thing, same thing we've done before with the team with Tomb Lord, you know. So we're going to start like that. I'm actually going to use this decrease speed on the cleanser. We landed that absolutely fine. I should have had a defense down champion go before, so Ugo's supposed to go before in in front of Royal Guard, but how I mentioned, I don't have them built, you see. I don't think she has much gear because I'm not really using them. But here we are. So that's kind of like an idea. I do have Rector Dread just because I don't have a cleanser to remove all the debuffs from my team. And in case if the Head of Torment comes in as soon as I kill a head, we gotta have at least a Veil and have a Reviver because the Head of Rat is pretty nasty. So that's kind of like another way to think about all this. In terms of stats, guys, give them some of your best gear. I have Relentless stats on most of my damage dealers. I have Regeneration stats on my Revivers. So just make sure you are giving them some of the best gear you have available if you're trying to do the Hydra clan boss. Pretty much the same situation here too. I'm actually gonna pull a couple of files, guys, to show you the stats of the heads. That's actually what we have in terms of speeds, resistance. So as long as you're matching this and you're beating this with higher accuracy than you need, better speed, you're gonna be fine. It doesn't really matter how you build them as long as you're building them better than they are on each one of these difficulties, whatever you're doing, you know. That's kind of like all in terms of stats. If you really want to see builds on multiple champions, how I mentioned, this team is not built, are missing gear on some of the champions. I have so many different videos. Click on the Hydra clan boss playlist, and depending on which team, which champions you want to see, you're gonna find them all spread it around in all those videos because I have so many different teams, you know, that you can run. But this is kind of like what I would suggest you to use, guys. This is another team here with two Revivers instead of one, 2 damage dealers instead of 3, just kind of like depending on your needs. This most probably is going to be my team. So this is the team that I'll probably run on Nightmare. On Brutal, I'll be running the one with Tomb Lord because I do have a second Duchess, but I don't have a second Krisk on this account. This is kind of like the way I'm starting it. I don't really care on landing that block buffs debuff instantly on them because I know it's going to get cleansed. I'm not using the HP burn because it's going to get cleansed. I'm starting with the A2 to increase the duration of buffs and have the Head of Mischief focusing on my Krisk. Now, he's the squishiest head out of all of them. I kind of want to have the cleanse from the Head of Decay on somebody else because the first heads that I want to kill is the Head of Decay and the Head of Mischief. Literally, I want to kill them as fast as possible. So if the cleanse from the A3 could go on the Head of Rat or the Head of Blight, I'm actually gonna be more excited about it since they have the A1 AoE and I'm running Geomancer, so I want to deal more damage on the other heads faster, you know. By the looks of it, I won't really have an escape this time around. The cleanse is gonna drop on the Head of Mischief, so I'm gonna try to hit it a few more times. Now, if I'm gonna land this on him, the Head of Rat is instantly gonna use the AoE skill on me, and I might be dealing more damage on him than the Head of Mischief. No, it did not happen. Okay, so basically, we wanna get these 2 heads first out of the equation. You know, if we're getting the Head of Mischief out quick, it's pretty good because we can actually control the other 2 much easier because they don't have the element of RNG in their kits. We see the skills. This one, he's just randomly gonna steal buffs from your team and it's pretty annoying, you know. But that's kind of like the way I'm starting my rotation. As soon as the Toxic Cloud goes off, I'm gonna start using block buffs debuff. Most of the times, I'm gonna be able to keep it on the enemies without a problem. But at some points, it might not stay up consistent enough because it's gonna get cleansed and too much RNG gets involved when the Head of Mischief is in the run. This is kind of like the thing that I hate the most about these rotations, the Head of Mischief. If that bugger wouldn't be in there to bother us all the time, it would actually be so much better. But hey, he's there just kind of like to mess up with us, you know. Relentless is a huge help. Makes this run much better overall. Again, trying to keep the Head of Mischief distracted. It would have been better, yes, if Duchess was going in front, but it's not the case. Right now, I can actually use this. I have it on 3 heads. I don't really care about this one to have it because it's not really gonna do much to me. And I could nuke right now, but then I don't have defense defense down on most of the heads, so I'm still gonna focus on this one till Lydia comes in play and does it. You see, that one is only gonna miss weaken. I want to have that HP burn on that head. I want to drop them down ASAP, and I mean it. Like, we're not messing around with them, you know. They're messing around with us, actually. You see, they actually went straight for my Royal Guard, took the buffs, took the turn meter. That's one thing to worry about, you know. That is taking the turn meter and is holding back your nukers quite a lot. And a lot of times, if you're going towards the end of the fight where getting your champion freed is so important, you're just not gonna be able to do it because the Head of Mischief stole your turn meter, and that costed you the entire thing. But that's kind of like the way I'm starting my rotation. I could use this one, but it's not necessary. I still have it for 2 turns, 1 turn, and this is about to cleanse in a second. So this is the way I'm gonna run my Hydra, guys. I kind of gave you a few ideas on how to start it, how to run it. Block buffs, debuff is gonna be very, very important. But do let me know in the comments down below if you have different strategies. What teams are you guys running? That was all for this video. Much love, and I'll catch you all soon in the next one. Peace.